All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel. Today we're talking about my Green Bay Packers, especially with the schedule release. I still feel so confident about Jordan Love and the Green Bay Packers this upcoming season. And even just looking at the schedule, I'm seeing 9 wins at least. And in the NFC, more specifically the NFC North, with the Vikings falling off a little bit, you do have the Detroit Lions. I think the Lions will win the NFC North pretty easily. I can see the Packers sneaking into the playoffs, having 9 wins, possibly even 10 wins, but we're going to know pretty much right out of the gate. All right. The Packers' schedule is very favorable out of the gate. And in general, the entire season, it's relatively quote unquote easy. It's the 9th easiest schedule in the league with a opponent winning percentage of just 0.476, and you get it started against who else? The Chicago Bears will definitely be at that football game, and then you head over to Atlanta, you play the Saints, you play the Lions, you play the Raiders, you do have an early bye, and then you play the Broncos. So I could see Green Bay in its first 6 games or so being 4-2, or honestly at worst 3-3. So we're going to talk a little bit more about the Green Bay Packers in today's video. If you guys enjoy it, be sure to hit that like button, hit that sub button for daily NFL content. Packers fans, I haven't made a Packer video since probably the end of the season. Did not end the way I was thinking it was going to end, but if we could get this video to 200 likes, that would mean the world to me. Obviously, the Packers are my favorite team, and I continue to plan on covering this team. So, all right. One quick thing about the schedule. Only 6 of Green Bay's 17 games in 2023 are against 2022 playoff teams, sorry. And only 2 of those 6 games are against the Minnesota Vikings, the divisional rival. And I'm not worried about the Vikings. I don't think the Vikings will be the worst team in the NFL by any means, or even the worst team in the NFC North. But I think they're going to be similar actually to the Packers, where they're playing around with 8, 9 wins. Obviously things could get worse. You could have 7 wins. You could have 10 wins. We'll see. But I think the Packers and the Vikings are honestly going to be pretty close to each other this upcoming season. And if Green Bay can beat them, especially twice, well, who knows how the NFC North is going to shake out at that point. But a typical Packers offseason, nothing too crazy to write home about. It was more so the losses. Obviously, Mr. Aaron Rodgers, Allen Lazard, Robert Tonyan going to the Bears. That sucked. Chris Barnes, Jerron Reed heading on over to Seattle, lost Adrian Amos. So the Packers did lose a lot of pieces. And once again, they've never really been a crazy spending team in free agency to make huge splashes. I like the continual idea of building through the draft. All right. Because when I take a look at Green Bay, with or without Jordan Love at quarterback 1 this upcoming season, which by the way, I'm really excited about Jordan Love. I think he's the real deal, and I think he will show us all that relatively quickly. But pick number 13, edge rusher out of Iowa, Lucas Van Ness. I really like Lucas. All right. I think he's a perfect fit for Green Bay. Even this 2 second-round picks, Luke Musgrave, tight end out of Oregon State, and wide receiver Jaden Reed out of Michigan State, focusing on the offense, giving Jordan Love pieces. I'm not buying into patience this upcoming year with Jordan Love, and it's probably Green Bay would agree with it, with not picking up his 5th-year option. The Packers can go in a couple of different routes depending on how their season goes, right? So you're continuing to build up your offense. You have guys like Christian Watson. You still have A.J. Dillon. You still have Aaron Jones. You still have a great offensive line. But you go out there and 3 of your first 4 picks, Luke Musgrave, Jaden Reed, and then in the 3rd round, they took tight end out of South Dakota State and Tucker Kraft. I really like the emphasis on young offensive players, guys who can help move that needle. I think it's going to be critical for Jordan Love because, once again, I know there isn't like a solidified wide receiver 1, like a quote-unquote superstar name, no more Devontae Adams. Allen Lazard is wide receiver 1 last season to start it off. Christian Watson kind of became that dude as the season went on. Wasn't a huge fan of that. I love Allen Lazard, but I would not view him as a wide receiver 1 on pretty much every team in the National Football League, which is fine. It's fine. Unfortunately, I wish him the best of luck, but I think Christian Watson's that guy. I really do, and I really like the 2 tight end draft picks in round 2 and in round 3. I really think that's going to help out Mr. Jordan Love so much. But once again, when we take a look at this team, especially on the defensive side, we talked about the offensive line. We talked about, bringing in new guys on offense to help get creative, to help get versatile, to help get explosive for Jordan Love. But defensively, really is where I see things just kind of. I really like the Packers defense. And when we take a look into statistics, last season, they were actually horrible in total passing or sorry, rushing yards. All right. Sixth worst. They were solid against the pass, sixth best passing defense. But when I take a look at it, especially when I look at, I'll remind myself of the unfortunate injuries, guys like Rashawn Gary. I think Rashawn Gary's the truth. In just 9 games last season, he had 6 total sacks. You still have so many pieces. I know Quay Walker last season, the way it ended, people weren't exactly thrilled for good reasons. But I look at guys like Quay Walker, young cats on this team. Quay last season had 121 total tackles. I mean, that's extremely impressive for such a young guy in his rookie season. I think Quay Walker is going to be an integral piece for this Packers team moving forward. Devondre Campbell, Rasul Douglas, Preston Smith, Darnell Savage, obviously CB1, one of the best cornerbacks in the National Football League, and Jair Alexander. You have superstar studs still in Kenny Clark. I like this defense a lot. And I don't think they're going to be middle of the pack like they were last season. As the season progressed and we played game, once we went on our 4-game winning streak before the loss to Detroit to finish off the season, I saw great defensive performances from the Packers, right? Think back to like the second Bears game in Chicago. I was at that game. 12 points against the Los Angeles Lambs. 20 points to Miami, 17 points to Minnesota in the completely domination game. I mean, 41-17 in that last win against Minnesota. That doesn't even paint the picture to how that football game looked. But my point is, as you can see here, and I know it goes without saying, but I really think this Packers team is ready to win. I think they have a roster that is, they're clearly proven to be competing, right? And it's just going to come down to Jordan Love. It's going to come down to Matt LaFleur and Jordan Love. And the Packers, I really think they've done a solid job putting pieces in front of him in Christian Watson's breakout season, right? And your draft picks this year. And by the way, the draft picks don't end just there. We'll talk about it as the season progresses, but you took intriguing players like Dontavian Wicks, wide receiver out of Virginia. We'll continue to talk about this Packers offense as the season progresses, but obviously the point is this. The Packers have time, technically every team does, but they have a roster that's ready to compete. So as patient as I would love to be with Jordan Love, I think he has enough around him, both sides of the football, to make a playoff run this upcoming season. Now, unless Jordan Love turns into like an MVP caliber QB in his first year as the starting quarterback, the Packers, as far as Super Bowl contention, we won't even discuss that because it goes without saying. But hopefully you get my point here. I do think the Packers will be competitive next season, and I really think at worst they're going to be like an 8-win football team. So Packers fans, NFL fans, let me know what you guys are thinking about down below. Let me know. Hit that like button, hit that sub button, but most importantly, comment down below. Give me your Packers win total for this upcoming season as it stands right now. Happy Mother's Day to everybody, and that's it for me. Peace.